Hello, friends. Welcome to Nabla Online Maths. Today, we are going to learn how to find the square root of a negative number without using calculator. And I have some examples on the board to illustrate this. On the board, we have square root of negative 9, square root of negative 64, and square root of negative 48. We are doing this because we want to correct one misconception about mathematics. Some people normally say that taking the square root of a negative number does not exist. And I want to correct that misconception today. Taking square root of a negative number has a result or an answer. Just that the calculator will not be able to give you the right answer. Because if you key in the square root of a negative number into a calculator, it will tell you math error or syntax error. So today, I'm going to give you a procedure that you use to solve for square root of a negative number manually. And before you can do that, there is one relation or equation that you use to solve questions like this. And that one or that relation is I squared is equal to minus 1, where I is called imaginary number. So if I want to solve I here, I can take square root on both sides. So square root of I squared is equal to square root of minus 1. Then you see that these two cancel the square root sign. Then I will be equal to square root of minus 1, where I is the imaginary number. So anytime you are to find the square root of a negative number, take the square root of positive of that particular number and multiply by square root of minus 1, which is the same thing as that particular negative number. What I'm trying to say is that if you are to find square root of negative 9, you take square root of positive 9, you take positive aspect of that number, then multiply it by square root of negative 1. We are doing this because negative 1 times any number, any positive number will give you negative of that particular number. Like negative 1 times 9 will give you negative 9, which is the same thing as this one. Then you know that 9 is a perfect square number. So taking square root of 9, you will get what? 3. Then you multiply by the square root of negative 1. But from this relation, you can see that square root of negative 1 is the same thing as what? I. So what I'll do is that I will now have my final answer to be 3i, because negative 1 will not take, I will not take the place of negative 1. So meaning square root of negative 9 is 3i. Now let's take negative 64. So this one, I will take the positive aspect of the number, which is positive 64 times negative 1. So to do that, square root of 64 is a perfect square number, and square root of 64 will give me 8 times square root of negative 1. But we know that square root of negative 1 is the same thing as I. So I will say times what? I. And 8 times I is 8i. So meaning square root of negative 64 is 8i, where I is the imaginary number. Now let's go through the last one. Square root of negative 48. The same procedure. You take square root of positive 48 times square root of negative 1. This will be equal to, square root of 48 is not a perfect square number. So, but you can get a perfect square number from 48 and non-perfect square number. From says, we know that square root of 48 will give me square root of 16 times square root of 3. Square root of 16 times square root of 3 will still give me the 48. Simply 16 times 3 is 48. Then we'll multiply by the negative 1, a square root of negative 1, which is I. So I'll just put my I there. Then this will give me square root of 16 is 4 times square root of 3 times what? I. So combining all these things, it will give me 4 root 3i. So this is how we find square root of a negative number without using calculator. So the trick is that, or the procedure is that anytime you see square root of a negative number, just take the square root of the positive of that particular number times square root of negative 1. Then after that, you replace square root of negative 1 by I and write your answer down. So meaning square root of a negative number, at the end, you have to attach I to that. And already I said I is called imaginary number. I'll get time and talk about complex numbers. So under complex numbers, I will explain the meaning of I into details. Just that today, I just want to demonstrate how to find the square root of a negative number. Thank you for watching this video. If this is your first time of watching, please kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel, Nabla Mahmi Online Maths, so that you'll be notified anytime a new video is being uploaded. Thank you once again and have a nice day. Bye bye.